Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you today to our third session in our series Med Instead of Meds. Just looking at the chat, it seems like there's some watch groups out there and some people talking about physical activity they've been increasing lately, which is wonderful. We hope you've had a chance to enjoy some of the weather outdoors. It's just always crazy weather in Kansas, it seems like. So there are days during the week when you can certainly get out there and enjoy nature and get some more activity. I'm Sherilyn Jackson, the Northeast Regional Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist and also the coordinator of the WAC Kansas program. Before we begin today, I want to acknowledge that K-State Research and Extension is an equal opportunity employer. Therefore, we do not discriminate against anyone. So if there is a special request or a concern that you need addressed to attend our programs, please reach out to us and let us know. Through these webinars, we're exploring the 7 simple steps to eating the med way. And today we explore step 2, which is swap your fats. The first week we had an introduction. Last week we talked about how to change your protein. And so today we're glad to have Ashley Swati, who's the Northwest Regional Family Consumer Sciences Specialist, who's going to help us navigate this third session and this step on swap your fats. And Christina Holmes, who's Southeast Regional Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist, is going to explore some of the tasty recipes that support it. We encourage you to utilize the Q&A or the chat to engage with us and ask questions. And as always, we're here to learn together. Now let's dive in and see what Ashley has in store for us. Welcome, Ashley.
Really getting excited seeing where everybody was from in the chat. So that's fun to see where everybody's tuning in from. So we're not alone. We're in this together. Okay, so today we're going to be chatting about swapping out our fats and snacking on nuts and seeds. So if you guys could type in the chat, what is your favorite, or not your favorite, but what is your go-to fat that you cook with most often? Let's kind of set the stage there. So what is your go-to fat that you cook with most often? You could put those in kind of when I talk about this next slide about eating the med way. We're going to go over this slide each week, just reviewing what's all about the med way here. So lots and lots of fruits and vegetables. Fruits and veggies are the core of eating the med way. We really want to focus on a variety of fruits and veggies, a variety of colors, sizes. Just look at all those delicious fruits and veggies there. And then our whole grains. We really want to focus on our whole grains and eating the majority of our grains being whole grains. Next is eating beans and legumes. Make these plant-based proteins your go-to. Next is eating fish and seafood 2 to 3 times a week. And last week we talked about making your Saturdays salmon Saturdays. So if you do that, if you celebrate each Saturday with salmon Saturdays, you've already got one day down. Next is enjoying nuts and seeds, which we're going to be talking about today. Increasing your olive oil consumption and swapping out some of the more saturated and trans fats for our healthy olive oils. And jazzing up our food with herbs and spices. Instead of using salt and sugar to add flavor to our foods, we can use herbs and spices in a delicious way. And then adding or just enjoying red wine in moderation, and this is optional. And of course, when we're talking about a healthy lifestyle, we're always going to be talking about physical activity. So moving more, sitting less, getting our exercise in, which I know many of you, it's WAC Kansas season. You're in WAC Kansas, you're moving, being active and having fun. So during this webinar, don't just sit and stay sedentary. Get out and move around, especially, if you're by yourself in your office or at your house, nobody will see. So go ahead, move around and get active. Next, eating the med way is staying socially active and enjoying your meals. Sitting down, enjoying your meals and not being rushed, but actually enjoying them and taking time to eat with others. And decreasing how much sugar we eat and drink, and especially with those sugar-sweetened beverages. So what sets the Medway apart from other eating patterns? First off, it's simple, and then delicious and satisfying. Simple because it uses simple prep techniques. Delicious because we use spices, herbs, and aromatics to jazz up our food. And satisfying because the Medway promotes satiety with those whole grains, veggies, nuts, seeds, and healthy fats and proteins. So today, as Sherilyn and I have been saying, we are going to be focusing on swapping out fats and snacking on nuts and seeds. Okay, simple step number 2 is swapping out our fats. So replacing those solid saturated fats such as butter, lard, and margarine. So a good way to remember if something is saturated is if it is solid at room temperature. So you're going to swap out those saturated solid fats for olive oil in cooking and even in your dressing and marinades. And we are going to shoot for using 4 tablespoons of olive oil a day. And we're going to talk about measuring and how to get to this little goal in a bit. But first, let's kind of talk about the fat-free craze. In the chat, let me know if any of you remember in the 1970s to 90s, and even now, do you feel like there is a huge fat-free craze? You know, I feel like I go to the grocery store and there are plenty of fat-free options still out there. So who remembers that? Do you guys remember that how this fat-free craze and eating way was kind of viewed as healthy? Well, it really wasn't after all, as you all probably know. So when that fat is removed in fat-free items, it's replaced with refined carbohydrates. So if we look at bringing down the fat, we're going to have to replace it with something. So we bring down the fat in those fat-free items and we're bumping up the refined carbohydrates. So for example, when people were replacing olive oil-based dressings with fat-free ranch, they were higher in sugar and higher in starch. And then those nuts and seeds, as we can see on the left, well, nuts and seeds, as we know, are higher in fat. So some people might have thought it would be healthier to eat pretzels there on the right or white bread, but those are just flour and salt. So as you can see kind of on here, and there are many more examples, but the left is more of the natural sources of the fats and just food. And then once we get to the right, we get to the more processing of our food. So what do we know for sure about all this fat-free and just overall fat in our diets? Well, replacing the saturated fat with refined carbohydrates, like we talked about at that last slide, does not decrease the risk of chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, stroke, and heart disease. And to kind of piggyback on that, consumption of a low-fat diet is not associated with a decreased risk of chronic disease, nor is it associated with lower weight. So if people thought that eating low-fat, they were going to lower their weight, there's not really an association with that we found. And then replacing saturated fats with poly and monounsaturated fat has positive health benefits. And remember, those saturated fats are usually those animal-based solid fats, and those unsaturated fats are plant-based and liquid at room temperature. And there is no safe level of trans fat. We're going to talk about trans fat in just a bit too. So here we have the fat choice continuum. I'm going to kind of leave this up here and explain some things, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. From the left to right, we're going from eating more to eating less. from unsaturated healthier fats to saturated to trans fats, those trans fats that we do not want to eat. There's no safe amount of trans fats that we can eat. And from the left to the right, we're also seeing health promoting properties and that they actually benefit our health. Over to the right, that they have not been found to provide any health promoting properties and they can cause harm. So what foods have trans fat in them? Well, fried foods, pastries, crackers, and many items that just need to be shelf stable longer. Trans fats and partially hydrogenated fat, which is another word for it, was created so that foods could become shelf stable for longer. So our goal is to replace those non-beneficial fats with the beneficial fats. Okay, and now here we also have a lot of stuff going on here, but this is an oil comparison chart. It shows how much monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fats, and saturated fats are in each oil. And while looking at this, if you guys in the chat want to note anything that's kind of surprising to you, you go ahead and do that. We love the interaction, but for many people, you know, we just like the fat-free craze, there was kind of a coconut oil craze, but coconut oil is solid at room temperature. You know, when you get the jar, it's pretty solid, it's not liquid. And you can see that because the majority of it, that 92% of coconut oil is saturated fats. So just remember that coconut oil has so much saturated fat in it. And this chart really exemplifies why the Medway encourages olive oil and canola oil. And because they have those high unsaturated fats, just like hazelnut, almond, and avocado. And all of those oils are fantastic to eat too and to use. But the olive oil and canola oil, they have more of a mild flavor and they are much more reasonably priced than the other oils. So that's really, those are some main reasons why the Medway encourages olive oil and why many of the recipes utilize canola oil and why we're recommending 4 tablespoons a day. But nearly 9 out of 10 people are worried about consuming fat. Are any of you guys worried about consuming fat? I think it's still kind of in our minds from that fat-free craze, but it's all about what kind of fat you eat and just not overdoing it. So here's kind of an example of a day of eating your 4 tablespoons of olive oil. So making olive oil your go-to for cooking and salad dressings. We're going to give so many examples of how to incorporate more into your day. So you can kick off the day with your olive oil toast with 2 teaspoons, salad with a vinaigrette, 1 to 2 teaspoons, roasted vegetables, 1 to 2 teaspoons, and then chicken breast rounding out your supper, sauteed in olive oil with 2 teaspoons. So this daily diet plan will get you about 3 to 5 tablespoons of olive oil. And depending on your calorie needs, this is probably right in the range where you need to be. So here are some more med flips that we're going to talk about at each session too. Cook with healthy oils instead of the solid fat. Drizzle and dress dishes and salads with healthy oils, like those olive oils, and replace solid fat with healthy oils as a spread or in recipes, like swapping out your buttered toast for olive oil toast. All right, and then a med tip, cook with oil. So in the tomato soup, you're going to saute onions and carrots in extra virgin olive oil instead of butter. And then the spicy roasted cauliflower, you're going to roast the cauliflower in olive oil, and this is delicious. One of my favorite baked items is broccoli with olive oil. That might sound crazy if you've never tried it, but it is absolutely delicious. And another thing I want to focus on here is that we're not adding more fat to your diet, but we are swapping those previous fats that we might have been eating, those saturated and trans fats. We're swapping those fats for the extra virgin olive oil. And another example here is drizzling and dressing up using olive oil with the white bean hummus and a salad. And Christine is going to go on about all those recipes. But a GoMed life hack here is that you are going to say goodbye to all of those prepackaged store-bought salad dressings, and you are going to become a pro at making your own. So right here, it is truly as easy as this. You need a container, you need acid, such as a lemon, and oil, olive oil, and then some seasonings. So you're going to use half acid and half oil. So if you use 1/4 of a cup of acid, use 1/4 of a cup of olive oil, and then go from there. These recipes are so versatile. They are healthier and cheaper than those store-bought dressings, and you are really going to fall in love with these if you haven't already tried some. Now, more med flips. This top one right here, sauteed squash and onions, that is our go-to in our house in the summer when the gardens are just overflowing with zucchini and squash and onions. We cook that just about every night on our stove chop it up, put some olive oil in there with some herbs. So delicious. Olive oil toast that we've been chatting about, and then swapping mayonnaise with that olive oil for a Mediterranean tuna salad. Just looks delicious. Now, how to buy olive oil. So we've been talking about all this olive oil. Now let's get to buying it. So you want to buy it in a dark can or a bottle. And this is because the oil will break down when exposed to light, and the dark bottles can extend the shelf life. And this extending the shelf life is going to be important. I'll touch on that in a little bit. So, should I choose extra virgin or olive oil? Well, some people opt for EVOO, extra virgin olive oil, for your dressings and olive oil for cooking, but extra virgin olive oil is really suited for both. And extra virgin olive oil is more recommended because it has a higher quality and tends to have a more robust flavor. So if you're going to choose one to have in your house, which we just have one, I don't need multiple bottles of extra virgin olive oil and olive oil. So just choose extra virgin olive oil if you're going to choose one. Now it's important when you're shopping for your olive oil to look at the best buy date. And this is the date that tells you when it should be opened by. And it's recommended to use within 30 to 60 days after opening. And I'm going to be transparent here. This 30 to 60 days is kind of shocking because I tend to buy too large of a bottle that I can use in 30 to 60 days. So I am going to work on that personally, but find an olive oil bottle that fits your needs and cooking style and keep it handy because you're going to be using it quite often throughout the day, and store it away from light and heat. So don't store it right above the stove. All right. And I hear this and I see it when I'm at the grocery store. Olive oil can be so expensive, but you don't have to buy the most expensive olive oil on the market. I'm a deal shopper, so this is really, this speaks to me here. We're not telling you to go break the bank when it comes to buying your olive oil. Just want to stick with the 3 tenets here. So buying a dark bottle or can, buying extra virgin olive oil, and looking at the sell by date. So those three things are what you want to keep in mind. And right there, this is at a store. You can get some for $3.49 and $3.99, and compared to $20, they can just get kind of really expensive, but they don't have to be. Now this slide, the ones on the left here, they are made and bottled in that country, but the olives may not be grown in that country. So product of Spain and made in Spain, but on the right, product 100% Italian, those olives actually come from that country. So just a little tip when reading labels. Next, we are going to change our direction from talking about our oils to now chatting about snacking on nuts and seeds. So what's everybody's favorite nut and seed? You can drop that in the chat if you want. I'll let you guys share what you want and keep rolling here. So our goal here is to choose at least 3 ounces or 3 small handfuls of nuts per week while keeping within your calorie budget. But this is really important here. You want to avoid those sweetened ones, such as candied, honey roasted, and heavily salted varieties. Once you start just roasting the nuts, you're going to understand that it is okay and they are delicious, just giving them a little roast in the oven. Okay, so which nuts and seeds should you choose? Well, this slide just gives kind of some positives to different nuts and seeds, but you just pick your favorite. All of them have health benefits, so choose whichever ones you like. We've got hazelnuts, Brazil, cashews, the list can go on and on. Choose whichever you would like and aim for the 3 ounces of nuts and seeds per week. But how much is an ounce? That could be a little tough. So, of course, we have some visuals here to help us. So, a baby food jar full, 1/4 of a cup, a 3x3 sticky note, a handful, a smartphone that's not as big as an iPad, just a regular sized smartphone, and then a shot glass full. And 1 ounce of almonds is about 23 almonds, just so you can get a visual. And of course, stores now make pre-packaged 1 ounce packages or 100 calorie options that are great for on the go too. And of course, we can add these to salads and grains and top fruit with nuts and seeds. And of course, you can just snack on them and make them your go-to snack. So this just showcases some med instead of med recipes that add nuts and seeds to give them more texture and flavor. And here's an example of one of the recipes that gives your fruit salads some variety. So not just fruit, but we're adding some peanuts to it. So we don't want to allow our meals to be boring. Nobody wants to eat anything boring. So just jazz them up. And this is a good way of jazzing them up in a healthy way. And it adds satiety too. So here is another life hack here. So we're going to swap our protein bars for nuts and seeds and swapping cereal bars for nuts and seeds. I talked about coconut oil on that oil comparison, but palm kernel oil is also very high in saturated fat, and palm kernel oil is found in a lot of these cereal bars and protein bars. So it's very important just to look at the ingredients to know what you're eating. So of course, now let's chat about nut butters. Now there is kind of a lot going on here, but drop in the chat if you actually look at nutrition ingredient labels when you're shopping for nut butters. Some of my family members have their go-to, and I also have my go-to because I look at my labels and I know what's in them, but you have your go-to and you're ready to go. So this first nut butter on the left contains peanuts, palm oil, and just a bit of salt. And this product has 2 grams of sugar per every 2 tablespoons of servings, which is naturally occurring from the peanuts. The nut butter in the middle contains roasted peanuts, sugar, molasses, and hydrogenated oils. This product has 3 grams of sugar per every 2 tablespoon serving. And we know that this product has 2 grams of added sugar per serving. So got to watch out for all of those added ingredients here. And then the nut butter on the right contains roasted peanuts, sugar, palm oil, peanut oil, honey, and salt. And this product contains 5 grams of sugar per every 2 tablespoons. So we are adding more fat and sugar into that nut butter. And so if you are used to more of some of these that are not the natural kind, try the natural kinds of nut butters after you read the labels and that stick to minimal ingredients. And you will probably have to stir them up, but it might just take time for your taste buds to get used to the different flavors and textures, but it's going to be worth it. All right. And of course, eating mindfully and the med way here in your right size of portions. So slowing down and staying aware of what's actually on your plate and actually taking the time to enjoy your meal. You know, we work hard to cook our meal. I love cooking. I don't want to take my time to cook a meal and then scarf it up in 30 seconds. I want to enjoy it and enjoy it socially with friends and family. And we really also want to look at our portion sizes and listening to our body when we've had enough, so we don't stuff ourselves. That's really not comfortable when we just stuff ourselves and overeat. But I bet you all have noticed that portion sizes have increased over the years, and we're offered much more than what we actually need. And this isn't just happening at restaurants. This is also happening in our homes. We're just cooking more and we're just kind of used to eating more, I think. And so these larger portions mean that we're eating more calories than we need to, which is the portions go up and our weight goes up. But sometimes we get in that mindset, if we go to a restaurant and we eat a big meal, we'll say, oh, well, we'll have a low fat, smaller supper. But to kind of compensate for that larger lunch meal. But research is showing us that we're not compensating for that large meal that we eat earlier in the day, and we're eating just as much, which also contributes to that weight gain. So what is a normal portion? Well, a small handful of nuts and seeds is about 1 ounce. And our hand is a perfect portion counter. It's right here. We can see it. And it's going to be so helpful with many of these different portions here. So a normal portion of meat, chicken, and fish is about the size of our palm of our hand and a deck of playing cards. And then look at this one, portion distortion at its best. We've got 3 ounces of chicken and 3 ounces of beef in a hamburger. But then that 7 ounces is usually kind of what we expect to get at a restaurant or what we kind of expect to eat. But we kind of need a portion reset on how much we eat. And these portion visuals are nice because we've kind of become distorted over time, and it's nice to have that reset on what we should be eating when it comes to portion sizes. And this next one, when it comes to cheeses, look at your thumb, and 1 ounce of cheese is about the size of your thumb or 2 dice. Now, when we think of maybe at holidays, when we have those fruit and cheese trays, we might eat a lot more than that portion of cheese. So that's just a great reminder if you look down and look at your thumb on how much a portion of cheese should be. And then your fist on the table like this is about the size of 1 cup. So this is perfect when thinking about cereal, whole grain pasta, and veggies. Now this one, how many of you just kind of in the morning, if you eat breakfast, just keep pouring the cereal without really even thinking? Well, a bowl of cereal may not may actually be a lot more than a serving. And on the right here, we've got 3 cups or 3 servings. So watch how much you pour yourself based on your needs. Now, next is pasta. A bowl of pasta may be a lot more than 1 cup. 1 cup is the size of our fist. So if you have pasta soon, just think of how many portions you're pouring yourself or plating yourself. Okay, so when you eat at home, you are in control. You can measure out your food. You can decide how much you put on your plate. And the best way to get a handle on portion sizes is to measure or weigh your food. And with this, you don't have to do that forever. You know, I definitely don't want to do that forever, but it will help reset your mind on how much a teaspoon is, how much a tablespoon is, and 1/4 of a cup. Especially if you do drink coffee creamer, this is kind of an example of, you know, you can really pour way more than a serving if you're not careful. So just learning how much of a portion really is, and that should help. And then a tip here is to serve reasonable portions using measuring cues we discussed, and just listen to your body. Listen to your body. Stop when you're about 80% full. That's a rule from the blue zones. Stopping when you're 80% full, when you're still comfortable, so we don't eat too much and become way uncomfortable. And then right here, this is a tip that I love. It saves money and really puts you in control. So you don't sit down and eat the whole jar of mixed nuts. You put them in the little containers and you're ready to go. If you're on the go, just put them in your bag and snack on them when you're hungry. And, you know, one more thing to reiterate, when you are at home, you're in control. You can choose how big of a glass you use and how big of a plate you use and your portion sizes. And then this table just estimates the calories you need each day to maintain your weight. And this is really just an estimation based on your activity levels and your age. Everybody is different and there are different factors, but this is a rough guideline and an estimation here. All right, so now, Christina, let's talk about these delicious recipes.
All right, well, Ashley started a little bit talking about our olive oil toast. And so this is an easy way for you to substitute out that fat. If you typically add butter to your toast, you can also get creative with this. You can add garlic if you chose, or other herbs and spices if you're going to serve this alongside a salad or perhaps a pasta dish. Okay, next recipe. So the Mediterranean tuna salad is another spin on a tuna salad option that you may typically fix at home. Again, this is swapping out that fat. Instead of using your typical mayonnaise, using some olive oil. And what I really like about this recipe is it packs in a bunch of different vegetables. So if you're preparing or prepping vegetables at the beginning of the week, you can pull some of those out and chop them up, and you can add really whatever you have on hand. But this one includes peppers and onions, so it gives you a variety of flavors and texture in your tuna salad. So you're really not going to miss out on the mayonnaise. Okay. So this one's a little bit different. So I challenge someone, if you want to try this week and report back on, okay, so one of the comments, we actually used olive oil in that recipe rather than using the mayonnaise. So it's a little bit lighter on that was a comment in the text, a little bit lighter than the tuna salad, what we would typically fix. So this next one is a yogurt, and it's more of a savory yogurt. So if you're one that's not a big sweet fan, or you're just trying to reduce your sweet intake overall to maybe control your cravings, this one has cucumber and olive oil and that sea salt. The recipe says that it really heightens all of the flavors and brings those all together. So if you're more of a savory eater or that's something you're craving, this could be also something that would be light and easy to pack for a lunch or for an afternoon snack if you're working. Okay, next recipe. So the Med Instead of Meds website, which you see at the bottom of the screen, has a variety of salad dressing options. This could be something that makes it really easy to prep ahead. I know it's a time of year where everyone's running for soccer and field trips and track meets and those kind of things. If you're having vegetables prepped ahead and you have the salad dressing ready, Could be an easy, quick dinner option for you and your family, or even something that you can take in your lunch. The citrus salad dressing option, you can use lemons or you can use limes. Add the seasonings of your preference, and it'll store in the refrigerator for several days for you to be able to use at your convenience. Next slide, Ashley. So the citrus salad dressing recipe we just talked about is actually utilizing this brown rice salad. And what I like most about the brown rice salad is that you can kind of create this however you want. You can add 1 or 2 vegetables of your choice. So again, if we're prepping ahead, throw those vegetables you have on hand in this recipe. Then you can add 1 or 2 fruits, a grain, a bean, and then you use your citrus vinaigrette. So really, all of us could prepare this recipe this week, and it can all look completely different. But I like that it's versatile. If you have extra rice on hand, throw a can of beans in, throw whatever fruits and vegetables you have on hand. I really like that these recipes allow you to just use what's available, and it's not a stress of buying all these fancy ingredients, something that you can use and try. But I encourage you to try one of these recipes this week. Try to incorporate more whole grains and beans and using some of these easy recipes that you could prepare ahead of time. All right, Ashley, next recipe. So spicy roasted cauliflower. As I looked at all these recipes this week, it just screamed spring and summer, which I'm totally ready for regular warm weather. But this is a recipe that you could utilize for any vegetable. So I'm thinking broccoli or zucchini, maybe a medley of vegetables this summer as things are available at the farmer's market, or if you grow them at home. You can also swap out your spices, whatever you have on hand. So if you think about summertime and not wanting to heat up your home, you can even throw these in the air fryer and just check them regularly until you kind of get an idea of exactly how long it takes to get them roasted to your preference. But my family loves roasted cauliflower. I have a family member that doesn't like cauliflower, but they'll eat it if it's roasted. And so if you have a vegetable that's kind of been a hard sell with some of your family members, try it this way because it adds a different texture. That caramelization changes the flavor a little bit. And the spices that you use just completely change the flavor profile, which is wonderful. Okay, next recipe. And so our last one, this one might put you out of your comfort zone a little bit on how you are trained to make deviled eggs, but this is an olive oil option. So we're not using the mayonnaise. We're going to try olive oil. When I looked up this recipe, there was even several comments that people were surprised. They didn't think olive oil would work, but actually had a great flavor. Again, you can add whatever flavors and seasonings you want into this. I even chop up sometimes jalapeno and put in my deviled eggs to add some more flavor and texture. But if you process this, it'll be nice and smooth. It's a great option for picnics as long as you're following your food safety recommendations. But really, these are our recipes this week, and I encourage you at least to get on their website, try a couple. Often when we think about making these dietary changes, it can be intimidating, or thinking about maybe items like, I don't want to buy new foods, or I don't want to try all these new foods. A lot of them are things that you already have on hand. Make a salad dressing, throw it on some of your spinach or your romaine lettuce you have on your refrigerator, and report back next week and let me know how you think it tastes. I think that's all the recipes this week, though. Go ahead, Ashley. So here's our website here. They have lots of good resources online. So you can check out some recipes, check out some of the learning information that they have. But yeah, you can check out the fish and seafood. If you haven't tried more seafood this past week, get some ideas. Again, you could bake it, you could grill it, you can put it in your air fryer. The recipes are all versatile and pretty user-friendly. So yeah, let's go to the next slide, Ashley. And so here's another option. Again, as we think about ways to transition our food and making things healthier as you go to the farmer's market, you go to the grocery store, try this recipe out this week. Again, we're incorporating some new flavors. So it's beyond just our romaine lettuce. It has some kale in there and some arugula. So it's going to bring a different flavor profile than what we may be used to. And our rosemary chili almonds. So we've talked a lot about nuts and seeds this week and how you could pack those and take them for a lunch. If you're going to a softball game or a track meet, something you can have available. But yeah, measure these out. We talked about 1 ounce, about the size of the palm of your hand. Could be something that you could pack a couple packs, because I imagine your kids are going to want to eat them too. It's going to keep you out of the concession stand. It's going to give you healthy fats for your evening or afternoon snack. Again, we've talked about all these nuts and seeds. Get versatile. I had some people commenting earlier that they liked almonds, that they liked pecans. Utilize those, and you can even make a medley and using these different herbs and make a combination, kind of a trail mix for you to enjoy. But I've tried both of these recipes and they're really, really great. It's a great option to add some more flavor, so you're not going to get burnt out eating the same things every day. And Ashley talked about earlier, we don't want you to get bored. You know, when you're trying to make these dietary changes, you feel like you're eating the same exact things every day, you're going to get burnout. And so some of these may be out of your comfort zone, but try to challenge yourself. When you go to a grocery store, try to find a new fruit or a vegetable, incorporate those in some of your meals. Get online and look at these recipes. This could be a great option if you feel a little adventurous. To me, it just screams like summer, and I'm ready for that. You have to try that this week. This is our quinoa strawberry salad. It's light and fresh. You can serve this cold. And so it's an option that you could prepare ahead of time, eat it for dinner tonight, take it for your lunch tomorrow. Again, that quinoa we talked about last week is a great alternative to add some whole grains into your diet. It has nuts in there, which is going to pack some of our healthy fats. It's a great way to actually sneak some fruits into your lunch or your dinner meal as well. But it's, yeah, light and crisp. I think you'll really enjoy this. I've had this one before and it's wonderful. And then whole wheat couscous salad. So if you can comment in the chat if you've ever had couscous, it's a great alternative that a lot of times people haven't had. So someone commented they're having the quinoa strawberry salad. So that's wonderful. So try some of these new foods. I mean, I think you would really be surprised in the convenience. My husband made couscous the other night and he couldn't believe how easy and fast it was to prepare. And so trying some of these items, maybe incorporate those in some recipes that you would typically use white rice. You can often modify some of our recipes by adding couscous or quinoa in there easily, and it really heightens the recipe and adds in some more fiber and nutrients. And our simple stir fry with nuts. Again, I love a lot of the recipes this week because it allows you to incorporate a variety of vegetables, but more importantly, it allows you to use the vegetables that you have on hand. So you don't feel like you have to bust the bank and buying all these different foods for your body and for your family. If there's certain vegetables that your family likes over others that are in a recipe, feel free to swap those items out. You'll see this is on brown rice, which is a great alternative to our white rice. If you have family members that are a little hesitant on going whole grain, swap and do half and half for a while and then gradually transition to all whole grain. Makes it a little bit easier for them to make that gradual transition. Again, you can pack in all kinds of different vegetables on here. And it's a great option. Stir fry is one of those go-to things that I have in my home because it's fast and easy, and almost everyone enjoys it because I try to incorporate the vegetables that I know they enjoy. Next. And then our mushroom almond burger. Again, this is another option to getting a little bit variety in our diet, changing our flavor profiles a little bit. And so this is again a light and easy option that we can have. The mushrooms bring a really good flavor to our diet. Yeah, so sorry, I saw Ashley's chat. So again, a new flavor, add different variety in our diet. But try this. You know, you can zest it up with that salad that we talked about earlier with the brown rice and the citrus vinaigrette. It's a light and easy option. Next. All right, we want to thank you all for your time today and joining in. If you have any questions about today, please feel free to throw those in the chat. But we encourage you to try this next week and making at least one modification to your eating habits. Whether it's trying more seafood, try to incorporate more fruits and vegetables at your meals, or perhaps it's just drinking more water and cutting out some of those sweetened beverages. Any small change that you make a tremendous impact on your current and your long-term health. We're hoping to make those gradual changes so we can start eating more of the med way and reducing our use and our reliance on medications in the future for chronic illness. If you have a few minutes, we encourage you to fill out the survey and hopefully you can join us back next week.
All right, does anybody have any questions? I know we've answered some of them as they've come along in the chat, but do feel free to ask any questions that you have, any comments. What do you people that are sampling the salad, the strawberry quinoa salad, think about it? I think in Harvey County, there's some people sampling that, and I know out in, I believe, Hayes, there's another group. Oh, good. Yeah, it's hard to not like a salad with strawberries in it. Any final questions? And then we'll close the webinar for today. You're also feel welcome to contact any one of us. We've had our email up there earlier, but you're welcome to contact us with any questions that you have. And again, we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good week.